Dr. Caroline Leaf, and welcome to this podcast. This is going to be such a fun podcast because with Valentine's Day coming up around the corner, love is in the air. So today we're going to talk about relationships and love. And in the studio with me today, I have my wonderful, handsome husband. We've been married for 30 years. Thank you for being here today.
That's always a pleasure.
Actually, you're with me every day, so thank you for being on the podcast today. We're going to talk about love because this is such an exciting year for us because this is our 30th anniversary. Our eldest daughter gets married in September. So this is, love is in the air in our family. It's actually very exciting.
True.
And there's some points that, you and I have really worked hard at our marriage, and we really have made a lot of mistakes, but we've got some things right. And I really believe we have a fantastic relationship. The biggest compliment that I think our kids have given us is that we have a great relationship, that so many times our children have said things to us like, gosh, he doesn't look at you, or talking about friends, that the husband doesn't look at the wife the way you look at me, or the way you two communicate, or you've got a special relationship. They say some really nice stuff to us. And I just think there's certain things that you and I have brought into our marriage that I think people can benefit from. So I want to talk about that. Do you want to?
No, I agree with what you're saying. It's been hard work, but the fruits are evident, and the prognosis for the future is very good.
I agree.
Spend the rest of my life with you.
You got no option. Okay, so one of the things that you and I have worked really hard at is that we never go to bed unless we've resolved an argument. So if we have an argument, so I'm starting right up front with the things that are they can really break marriages apart, and those are arguments. And you and I made that agreement when we first got together, even before we were married, that we would never ever go to bed until we had resolved that argument. And there's been some nights we've been up all night.
True. Well, the thing is, if you're going to not resolve it, then you're going to be thinking about it and you're going to store it. And then it ends up where, you hear where people don't talk to each other for 3 or 4 days, and the atmosphere in the house is thick, and it's so stupid, really. Even if you have to have a screaming argument, rather get it out on the air and discuss it, because, that's one way of communicating. It's not the best way to shout and scream, but it's every attempt should be made to sort it out, because otherwise I don't believe you sleep well.
No, you don't sleep well.
Yeah, and you're waking up to it the next morning because it's unresolved. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and something that can become small, that started off small, can become huge because you can make all kinds of assumptions about what the other person's thinking.
Yes.
And that's one of the other points that I wanted to raise. The second point I want to raise is that we should never, you and I've made that decision, and we fail often, but we really work hard at this, is not to assume that you know what the other person's thinking.
Yes.
So not to turn around to each other and say, well, you this, and the other person saying, but I never even meant that. That's not what I said. We've tried to make it a rule between us that, and even if we fall, we'll say sorry and try again, but try and say, is this what you meant? Or what did you really mean? Or can you be quiet for a moment and let me actually say what I'm trying to say? Or things like sometimes you've said to me, or I've said to you things like, ask me what I mean. Don't assume you know what I mean. And that kind of prompts each other to really rather express what we mean instead of what we think the other partner means. And that's really been a big help for us.
Yeah, it's very important. Also in terms of arguing, you should stick to the point of the argument. You don't have to bring up all kinds of other things that are unrelated to the argument. Just keep to the main point. But you said a good thing some time ago is that, you can guess 70% of the time what I'm going to say or do. The other 30% you can never guess. So we'll never really know what the person is going to say until we spend time hearing them. That's why that scripture is so good. Be quick to listen, slow to speak. And, I've failed on that. Sometimes I've been too quick to speak and angry. But, you pick yourself up again. You change your mind, you repent, and you move forward. And, the Holy Spirit can really help you move forward in that area.
If you choose to do that.
It's a choice.
And that 70% thing is very relevant. I want to just quickly for a moment talk about, that's actually a quantum physics principle. It's actually these calculations, it's probability calculations that you never can ever guess or 100% know what another person is thinking. So it ranges between 50 and 70% the accuracy rate, but you still have a chance of being 30 to 50% wrong in your assumption. So with that high probability that you're going to be wrong, it's not worth assuming, because assumptions can lead to things that are being said that are very negative or toxic, and that can lead to an argument that wasn't even there in the first place. So different things can jump out all over the place, and you can go all over the place and have these awful arguments when you don't need to. And that's an important point there. And then also you mentioned about just the generosity of love. You didn't say the word generosity of love, but there's a generous, or assuming the best in someone else is generous in your love for that person.
Well, that's the thing. Love never fails. Those famous scriptures in Corinthians about love. It always wants to see the best in another person. Wants to believe the best, and wants to listen and not be harsh, and so on. And those are very good to operate on, because I remember at one time when I probably was a little more angry than I used to be, or when I should be, you always spoke softly in return, and remember that Proverbs, a soft answer turns away wrath. And so, with your softness of response, that diffused the situation.
Well, that's very generous of you, because I've tried to be soft, but there have been times where I have yelled back, and that's definitely made things worse. And sometimes there has been the need to really express your emotions and get that out, and sometimes the voice does raise, and we haven't let a shouting match between us, and we've had them, but we haven't let it just carry on. We've always stopped it at a point, and we've always, like, if the kids have seen us, we've always apologized to the kids, and very often the kids, we set up that open relationship in our home, that if the kids listened to us having an argument and they felt we were out of line, we allowed them to tell us, and they would tell us. And even now today we have, they're big and out of the home, but I mean, we might have a silly argument, and they'll quite openly tell us things, and we have chosen to listen to them. The wisdom from our children has been quite profound.
Oh, very much so. I mean, we can get to being stupid at times.
Very.
But I think what has really helped us, if we have had harsh words for each other, they haven't remained long, because, either you've texted me if we're not talking, or I'm texted you, and then within an hour we'd resolve it. So
that's worked out really well, that strategy, where you can get so heated up that you need to cool down, and then you'll go do your office in the house, because we together 24/7. I mean, we have quite an unusual situation where we work and live together, and we together 24/7. So when we are at home and you've got your office where you work and where I work, and sometimes if we're irritated or frustrated, you go to your office, I go to mine, and we cool down, and then we have a little text conversation. And that's another tip. It really works well, is kind of resolve it in an unemotional text way. And text can be really ugly, so certain things can be said, and sometimes one doesn't always express oneself as well, but you do have to formulate that sentence and type it out. So it kind of slows you down. And then when you read what you've written, it makes you a little bit more self-regulatory.
Sure.
And because that works really well for us.
Well, it has.
And our attempt has always been on both of our sides, and I know I can speak for you on this, but you can speak to this obviously as well, is that we always try to assume, and eventually assume the other person means the best, because we know how much we love each other. So no matter how fiery the argument, or how much we maybe disagree on something, we always assume the other person is wanting the best for us. I know you want the best for me. I know how much you love me. So it's really easy, once I've got past being stupid and irritated or something, to actually know that actually you love me. You maybe I should just listen to what you're saying, and that's helped me a lot.
I remember when we went, before we got married, we went on this weekend with a sort of engaged encounter. They gave us the rules for arguing. Keep to the point, and to be quick to listen. And remember that one, I said, if it really gets too bad.
This is the best one.
It really gets too bad, and you're really screaming at each other, try taking your clothes off.
And holding hands and continue your argument.
Screaming at each other.
And that was the priest who told us that, so it was hilarious.
Yes,
and that's something we've tried that. And let me tell you, take your clothes off and hold hands, you can't argue very long.
Oh, there you are.
So now children mustn't listen to this podcast, must they?
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the other things is keeping constant contact. That's something you and I do, even though we are work together, live together 24/7. We'll like, you'll text me from your office and you'll say, can I get you coffee? Or your office is outside of our house. When I wake up, sometimes I work really late, so I wake up late in the morning, and I'll text you and I don't go downstairs, you've got to walk all the way from your office, but you do. You walk all the way from your office, and every day without fail, you bring me breakfast in bed. And I have to tell the listeners, every day for 30 years, Mac has brought me breakfast in bed. And it always starts with coffee and what do you want? And it comes on a tray. 30 years of doing it. I mean, it's a joke in our house. The kids will say, Mom can't do anything. Dad does it all, kind of thing. And you do. I mean, that's such a loving gesture. It's such a special thing for me that you do.
It's kind of all the things you do for me. I mean, all the extra things you do from, the washing and the making of the beds and looking after the comforts. So, I think we're blessed and we must thank God for that. And we just pray that other couples will experience much of the same, but it's work. You've got to work at it.
It is work, and that's the other thing. You can fall into bad patterns, and this is very often, in the books that I've written about relationships and habits and patterns that we can fall into. We need to be very careful of that, and we make sure that we work hard at that. But we're going to do another podcast on more of the science behind relationships, and it's a couple more things that we do in our relationship that I want to talk about. The one is we give each other compliments. That's something that, I'll come and tell you look so handsome, and you'll tell me I look beautiful, and, we compliment each other on from the physical to the outfits to whatever, to what we do. I'll tell you that your skills in running the business administration side are brilliant, and that you have so much wisdom. And it's easy because that's what we do. I can always find something nice to say to you, and you always find something nice to say to me. And we've made that a rule, haven't we? We've really made that
for sure. I mean, without fail.
And then another thing we do a lot, because I know these are things that work for us, and honestly, our marriage is happier now than it was when we first got married, and I was deeply in love with you then. We were deeply in love with each other. Our love has definitely grown. And I mean, I don't want to be away from you. I hate being away from you. The kids will say that, I get all kind of lost when I'm not with you, sort of thing. But one of the things I think that's really helped us is talking openly with each other. We talk openly about our feelings. We don't suppress stuff.
Very important.
And sometimes it's just the surface things, sometimes it's the deep things, but we're very open about how we feel about things.
Yeah, and if you bottle things up, they just lead to problems. They get worse, and then you start a whole thinking pattern that's wrong, and you develop a whole scenario, and within 63 days it's a habit.
Exactly.
So as soon as you say something, then out pops that habit, and it's colored or disflavored the conversation.
I wonder how many marriages break up because people haven't been open and they haven't resolved, and they've gone into that whole cycle of building a long-term memory and a habit over 63 days of something that they thought their partner said, and they break up over.
I think that, but I think people don't make the effort. They'll say,
it is effort, yeah.
To hell with you, sort of thing. I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to hang out with the boys, and and eventually you end up doing your own thing with a mistress or something like that, and on the other side also something happens, and adultery, and then the whole basis of marriage is broken up. So you have to be very careful of walking down that road.
Very careful.
Even if you have to scream and shout.
Let's resolve those issues and end it. And coming back to that, one thing that we've also believed with kids in the house, it's really important to let them see that you've resolved an issue.
Sure.
So I'm not proud of some of the arguments we've had in front of the kids, and as our marriages progress, it's less and less and less, and we've learned how to manage it better. But the thing that the kids have always seen is that we end it, and we end by saying sorry, and that we love each other, and that's so important. To end by telling, remembering what you got married for in the first place, because you love each other. I think that's really important. A couple of other little tips, like with listening, you said earlier on that scripture about
be quick to listen and slow to speak.
And the other thing there we go. And then from a sort of scientific side and a therapy side, we've applied that whole thing of listen, breathe, listen. And we don't always do it, but when we do it, it's good. So listen to the other partner, take some deep breaths, which just reduces the cortisol levels in the brain and the body, and then listen again before you speak. And that's a really good rule of thumb. Listen, breathe, listen. And then maybe talk.
You've been very good at that. I compliment you.
Thank you.
Because you've taught me a lot.
You taught me a lot.
No, I mean the way you handle it, so it's good.
And then a couple of other things.
I like the therapy so much. I married a therapist.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so then little tips, like the more love you pour in, the more you're going to grow that love.
Sure.
I mean, that's really something you and I consciously daily. It's a daily awareness. We're very aware of pouring love into each other. That's just something that we just do naturally.
I think we misunderstand the term love. It's like I'm not able to define it fully. They talk about agape love and philo love and this love and that love, but really to me it's just every day. Making the effort to understand your partner and to try to walk in the fruits of the Spirit. And we can't do it without the help of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, that is actually really good. It's a lifestyle. It's not just now and then. It's not just in front of your kids or in front of the family. It's all the time. What do you like alone? Can you enjoy your time with each other? I mean, you and I love being together. We have so much fun together. We have so much fun with the children. But, that's the thing, is to enjoy being. We really enjoy each other's company. But that is something that we've worked at.
Yes.
It's a conscious thing. And then a couple of things that we also do, and then we'll kind of start wrapping up this podcast, is we say thank you a lot to each other. That's every day. I don't think a day goes by that we don't say thank you to each other. And I love you. That comes up. I can't even count the number of times in a day that we either text each other or tell each other, love you. And it's so natural and it's so meaningful. And our children have picked up on that too. And it's just natural. We're openly saying that. And that's very important, because when you're saying it, it's coming from a thought deep down inside of you. So you're generating that love energy, and it changes the other person's brain chemistry. And, it builds that connection and that strength between you so much more. So saying thank you, acknowledging that other person, and saying I love you. I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, I think so. We've got to say positive things. You've got to, and to believe them when you say them. Not just saying I love you when you want to stop an argument, but really mean it, or demonstrate it, or show some evidence of it.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's actually, we say it's hard work, but it's not really hard work, because once you get into that routine, there's nothing more incredible that you can experience, and having the love that I feel for you and that I know you feel for me. I mean, there's just nothing that replaces that.
Sure, but again, you got to get your thoughts under control.
Very much so.
You can't be having other thoughts.
And you also can't let the busyness of life and bringing up a family, you can't let that just, control you. You have to really think, this is a consistent pattern that you create. So we work in these, you and I, people that are listening to me, maybe it's the first time that they're hearing us, and they may not know about the science of thought that I teach. And in my book, Switch on Your Brain, and some of my other books, I teach about the 21-day cycles and how memories are formed. And I've got lots of new books coming out as well. But the Switch on Your Brain book, which is available at drleaf.com. And we have the book, Who Switched Off Your Brain? The Mystery of He Said, She Said, which are two great books to help in relationships. Very powerful. Mac and I really do apply these principles in our life. We've consistently worked at this. It's a daily thing. It's a daily, conscious, deliberate, and intentional working at our relationship, working at all these little things that I've been saying. Like having constant contact, assuming the best in your partner, giving each other compliments that you mean, and not just necessarily the mushy stuff, but, thanks for dinner, thanks for everything you do, thanks. Generosity, talking openly, listen, breathe, listen before you talk, get excited to see each other. The more love you pour in, the more you're going to grow the love. Saying thank you, saying I love you, making yourself easy to love. I mean, that's the thing. Be nice, making yourself easy to love. Don't just think it's all the other person. Work it yourself. Watch your tone of voice and body movements. That's a big one, which I think we should talk about the science of that on the next podcast, because that's a big one. Anyway, so we are going to wrap this podcast up now, because there's just so much more to share. And I really pray for all your relationships, because relationships are such an absolute blessing and a gift from God, that it takes both partners to really work at this. Thank you for being in the studio with me today.
It was a pleasure, sweetheart.
And thank you for joining me on the podcast, and thank you for being so honest and open, and thank you for marrying me.
It's a pleasure, my darling.
Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to the next time.